Just found that out today.
Hey, Jim,
Yeah, the motion was on this. Yeah.
who was it asked for all the projects?
I did.
I guess I'm good.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Give them some feedback. Get a chance.
This is what I should have done and didn't do, or whatever.
Okay.
But I don't think that's the case.
Camera guy talking to you.
You ready?
And it just does.
I'm just checking with Councilman Hatmaker, see if he's coming. So, Gail, you ready? Public hearing, excuse me, take two. Public hearing called to order.
Councilman Gann.
Here.
Councilman McBride.
Here.
Councilman Harrell.
Here.
Councilman Stamey.
Here.
Councilman Hatmaker. Councilman Farah. Mayor Burton.
Here. Public hearing is on three ordinances. The first is ordinance number 655, amending Title 14 zoning ordinance relative to drug treatment centers and pain management clinics. Anyone here like to speak on that? Second ordinance is number 656. This is rezoning B2 to P1 on Clinch Avenue at Yarnell Road. Anyone like to speak on that? Okay. The third is ordinance number 657, amending Title 14, zoning ordinance, Chapter 14, the stormwater management regulations. Anybody like to speak on that? I know it's a very exciting topic there, stormwater management. Anything else? Motion to adjourn public hearing.
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
Public hearing's adjourned. Regular meeting called to order. Roll call, please.
Councilman Gann.
Here.
Councilman McBride.
Here.
Councilman Harrell.
Here.
Councilman Stamey.
Here.
Councilman Hatmaker. Councilman Farah. Mayor Burton.
Here. Do I hear a motion for the approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Councilman Hatmaker's not going to be here. He said he meant to call you and let you know, but he forgot, so. At this time, we'd like to do the prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Prayer this afternoon will be given by Mr. McBride. And before the prayer, I'd like to take a moment of silence for a very dear person in our city, Sue McFarland, passed away, I think, late last night. And she meant a lot to this council and to this city, and we'll certainly miss her. And also a moment of silence of the others that have passed in the city over the past month.
Father God, we thank you for this day. Thank you for your many blessings. I pray right now for Sue's family. God, I pray for Ralph and the girls and the son, that you would be with them during this time. And Father, there's others in our city who have passed since we last met. God, I pray that you would be with those family members. Father, I thank you for the opportunity to serve you as a city councilman. And I pray that tonight what we do would bring glory and honor to you. I pray for wisdom for this council and for our city staff. I pray for protection for our city staff and for its employees. God, thank you for all you do for us, and we love you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks, Jim. Do you hear the motion and approval of the review and the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting dated January 25th, 2021?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? One thing I wanted to bring up under the Planning Commission notes, Gail, is I think it was kind of worded that I introduced the new appointee to the Planning Commission at the last meeting. She just happened to be there, and I let her come up and speak to the Planning Commission because my plan was to appoint her, but she was not appointed. Of course, that takes the council's vote to do that.
Okay, I have that corrected.
Okay. Anything else? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. This time we'll recognize Visitors and citizens? Anybody? Slim pickings? Okay, that's good. That means we're doing everything right, guys. Once again. Communications from the mayor. I do have one board appointment. As we were talking about the planning commission, Robert Manning, Bob Manning, has been on planning commission for 37 years. And that's a long time. And it's a tough board, as Larry would attest to. But I was, with Gail's help and Rogers, was able to present him with a proclamation to recognize those 37 years of service. And I know we as a council certainly appreciate what he's done, and people like him do each and every day. So he wanted to cut his term short. He had some things he needed to deal with, and he was ready to move on. I certainly appreciate that. I'd like to appoint, and I want to butcher, you might need to help me on this, Catherine, butcher her last name, Melissa Inwiker. You know Melissa? Did I pronounce that? Did I even get close? Okay, we'll go with that then.
Scott, can you spell it? Can you spell it for me?
Yes, it's Einwechter. And she's going to fill Mr. Manning's term through December 21st, 2021. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving to committee reports, City School Board report. Ms. Johnson?
Good evening. A few quick updates. I've been told I'm limited to 3 minutes tonight, so I'm going to try to adhere to that. Some good news. COVID is looking good in Clinton City Schools. We're getting ready to do a phone call to parents tonight that says that we've had 0 teacher, 0 student cases in the past week. So we currently have 13 students who are on quarantine for household contacts, but to put that into context, in January, at one point, we were up to about 120 students on quarantine. So we will take the direction that this is headed. Great news, as you know, today we went into stage 1B, which includes teachers and educators across the state being able to receive vaccinations. So I've been working closely with the Anderson County Health Department, and they are going to set up a specific clinic Friday evening for Clinton City employees. And so all employees who choose to get vaccinated will be vaccinated at the health department between 4 and 6 o'clock on Friday. And so that will be the first round, and then they'll receive their second shot on March the 26th. And so we certainly are very thankful for the health department for working with us so quickly and making educators a priority to get them the shots as quickly as possible. Also, I wanted to recognize our Teachers of the Year. This is something that was voted on by the current colleagues within each building. And so our Teacher of the Year at Clinton Elementary School is Amanda McCamus, and she teaches kindergarten at Clinton Elementary. At North Clinton Elementary, our Teacher of the Year is Jill Smithson, who teaches 6th grade, and this is actually her second time winning Teacher of the Year. She is excellent. And then at South Clinton, we have Rebecca Sharp, who teaches 5th grade, and then our Principal of the Year is Leanne Bonesteel at South Clinton Elementary. And so we will work with the Education Foundation in some capacity to recognize those. We're not sure that that will be an in-person Teacher of the Year banquet just quite yet this year, but we will recognize them in some capacity. And then finally, just to update you on some capital projects that we are working on, we have gotten some ESSER 2.0 funds, and the sole purpose, well, the purpose of that is several things, but one of the allowable expenditures is for us to work on some deferred maintenance projects that we have had, and this is federal money that we have received in response to COVID, and we are using a portion of that money. We're actually not coming to you asking for half this time. We're going to use our federal funds to help pay for this, but we are going to be replacing the boiler and all related parts. Did you like the way I worded that, Scott? I may or may not have had to ask him how to word that. But anyway, we are replacing the boiler and the related parts at Clinton Elementary School. And to give you a context, that boiler has been in place since when, Scott? 1989. So 1989. So it has served us well, but it is starting to break down on us from time to time. And so we're going to replace that before we get put in an emergency situation. So any questions for me?
Any questions for Kelly? Kelly, I want to say, you watch the national news and they're still fighting for the schools to get back online, and I'm so oblivious to that because even, of course, the city, but even the county, we've done such a good job, and just again wanted to compliment you all on
Well,
that, and it's.
We have certainly been blessed to keep open brick and mortar, but when you look, I mean, Shelby County has not, I mean, I know their situation is much different, but the boys and girls have never entered school yet this year. And
That's
so we have
incredible.
certainly been blessed in Anderson County to be able to have brick and mortar instruction all year.
I think I've shared with you, my grandson went back to brick and mortar today for the first time.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've looked at our mid-year data, and you hear a lot about learning loss. I think that's being publicized a lot. We call it at Clinton City Schools, it's really more of a failure of opportunity to acquire. It's not that they've lost their learning, it's that they weren't given an opportunity to learn for 9 weeks of school. But given the fact we've got some holes, first grade seems to be have hit a little harder than the other grades, which makes sense when you look at kindergarten and all those foundational skills are pulling together the last 9 weeks of school. But overall, our mid-year benchmarks do not look bad. I think we will fare, given the circumstances, we are going to fare better than most in our state.
Ms. Johnson, you had a meeting Friday, I think, with Mr. McNally and Mr. Reagan at a dinner. What's the one thing that, when you get an opportunity to talk to those two, what's the one thing that you're really trying to push toward? Is it something for your school or for education totally?
Well, the biggest piece, and I don't think we're going to get it to happen, but we're fighting for a hold harmless in BEP, because what you've seen is we have had a decrease in 20,000 students across the state that were enrolled in public education this year for a variety of reasons. A lot of parents took them out to homeschool for 1 year to let the pandemic come and go. And that equates to about $139 million that will not be in the BEP this year for school systems. We have seen a drop in enrollment in Clinton City schools, not to the extent that some of the county schools and bigger school systems have seen. But we have advocated for there to be a hold harmless on BEP, which means that our state funding would remain the same regardless of our membership for this past year. That has not gotten a lot of traction because they want us to use our federal funds to offset anything that we would have received. That is going to be a significant challenge for some districts, especially when the governor proposes a 4% increase on teacher salaries. You're going to see where a 4% increase is given, but yet some systems are going to be millions and millions of dollars short on BEP funding, but yet expected to give teachers salary raises. And when you look at, it's basically just trying to get them to understand the difference between reoccurring funds and one-time funds, because we can't use our ESSER funds for reoccurring salaries and for raises. And so we're fighting that battle pretty hard with little traction at this point.
So what's the difference between last year's BEP versus what you project this year to be?
We've
What's the
not
difference?
received our projections this year yet. I will tell you that from a funding standpoint, I think Clinton City's probably down 10 to 15 kids. So we'll feel it a little bit, but you're seeing some systems that are down, up to, 2,000-3,000 kids.
Yeah.
So that will take a pretty significant hit on them.
Yeah. I would imagine also, as far as protocols you all have in place this year for COVID, will probably be the same as next year, just from the standpoint, from what I understand, is that the vaccine will not be available for kids 12 and under until there's data that supports that. So that's probably going to be going into next year's school year.
Well, and also the COVID mitigation efforts have cost quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had to hire additional teaching
Yeah, that's kind of
assistants.
my-
We've had
my
to do
point.
lunch
Yeah.
differently.
Yeah.
Exactly. So,
So,
any other questions?
nope, thank you again for all you do. Scott, you have an amendment?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Made up that 3 minutes you went over. Clinton Regional Planning Commission report, Councilman Gann.
The Board of Zoning Appeals and the Clinton Planning Commission met on Monday, February 8th. Began by saying goodbye to, as the mayor mentioned, to Robert Manning, who's been with us for 37 years and done an outstanding job. And we're also introduced to our new member. So that was part of our BZA, and then also the election of officers, which is pretty much the same slate. That would be John Stair as chairman, David McCune as vice chairman, with Mr. Whitley, Gary Whitley, taking over as secretary in Mr. Manning's place. The BZA had no business to take care of. The Planning Commission also voted the same slate of officers for it. The only piece of business they had was applicant Nan Wilcox, Harkle Road and Associates, requesting site plan review for property located at 400 South Charles G. Severs Boulevard. This is the Wendy's location, and after discussion, it was recommended that they needed to put up a vegetative barrier to block the residential areas there. And also they have an issue that they're going to have to deal with TDOT as far as access on the highway. If both of those are taken care of, and I think there's also a water issue, stormwater issue, that was approved for the new Wendy's location. And then also a discussion of the P1 zone. But other than that, that's all we had.
Any questions for Larry? Larry, was that turn lane for TDOT, is that kind of, because it's going to be the turn lane to, on, what's the road there?
Severs,
No,
there's two.
yeah, Willow. Sunset was what I was thinking, but, because it's going to be a turn lane there, and there's going to be a turn lane, it's
Up
going
on
to be
the
kind
highway.
of, to get off.
Well, they're going to put one on Severs Boulevard.
Right.
That's where they're.
But that's the challenge, though, because you got the left turn lane on that lane
Yeah, and they're also putting one down
on Willow.
on Willow.
Okay.
So it's, golly, I looked at it, I bet they've got 75 parking spots, so it's gonna be
It's a big area, too.
plus a drive-through.
Well, I'm glad they addressed that barrier, because that'll be something that certainly needs to be
Vegetative
done.
barrier with the residential on both sides.
Yeah. Only thing I'd ask you all to get in the habit of doing, and I've talked to a couple of people on the planning commission, is make sure, just reaffirm what the exterior of the building is going to be, what the composite's going to be. I think we really want to get away from the metal. I don't think any Wendy's I can think of, it's always brick. But, when the Sonic comes up, when others come up, we just need to make sure that they do right long-term for the city as far as how that looks. So I appreciate it, appreciate all you do. Any other questions for Mr. Gann? Very appreciate it. Clinton Utilities Board report will pass for next month since Zach's not here. Larry, did you have any other committee reports? Any update on Green McAdoo or?
The Green McAdoo is scheduled, the Green McAdoo committee is supposed to meet with our new director next month. So we're beginning to try to put the committee back together. We will have to elect a new chairman with the passing of Eugene Gallagher. So we've got that to do, and our new director has some good plans. I think we've already discussed some with him, but this will be the first time the whole group will be back together.
Good, good. Thank you. General Government Report, Mr. Houck.
Mayor, in accordance with the council's prior directive, we have provided you with a list of various ongoing projects and activities that we are currently managing. Just any questions on?
I do. And I just went down through here and wrote a few notes. Number 8, talking about the traffic study up near the interstate from Miller Road, I-75 Hillvale and all that, says in progress. So like, how long, I know that's a state type thing and so forth. How long does something like that take? I mean, traffic up there is horrible.
We met with engineers Thursday on this, and they're officially starting the study. They've already been up there and looked at some different options. But I would say it'll probably take 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks on the study, and they'll come back with some recommendations, probably several recommendations. Preliminary, a couple of them is the traffic signal at Go Run Boulevard.
Okay.
Where Buddy's Barbecue, traffic signal at Tanner Lane on Hillvale.
Okay.
Coming out of Walmart. Possibility even talk about 6-laning the boulevard from the entrance to the vocational school to the interstate on and off ramps. So there's several items there that we've asked them to look at.
So things like that, I mean, recommendations and things back to council, or let us know what they've kind of come up with by late spring, early summer, probably?
So, yeah.
Okay.
Some of it will be submitted to DDOT for approval.
Right, I know, and it's not like we can just go do it because it's state, I understand that. Okay, number 9, Eagle Bend Road Traffic Study. Eagle Bend Road to Market Street to Nave Street, traffic calming. What's that about? Who requested that, and what's that all about?
Vice Mayor requested that back, I guess it's been 6 months ago probably. They did, once again, some preliminary studies. When we met with them Thursday, we asked them to go ahead and put something together there. That was actually 2 or 3 different traffic calming features.
So what's a traffic calming feature?
I'll get the names of them wrong. They don't,
Just give me, there's a speed bump down there now. That
a
not,
speed bump, they really don't
Speed
recommend.
humps, speed tables, roundabouts, various lane narrowing, several different things.
and the purpose of that is what now?
Slow traffic there.
Okay. Number 10, Harbor Drive improvements. There's one over there that talks about the status of COVID-19 postponement. Because I know this has been something that's on the agenda for us, and we've talked about, we fixed that. So whose postponement? Is that the engineers, or what's going on there?
Yes, we actually did. We were to the point probably April, May of last year that the next step was actually having a meeting with all the individuals, owners there. And of course, with the COVID restrictions, we couldn't have that public meeting.
Oh, okay.
So once again, at our meeting Thursday, we asked them to get this back on the agenda so we can start
Okay,
possibly here in the next month or so, start having those meetings.
okay. Then my last question, number 18, fire station improvements, talks about vehicle storage facilities. I mean, I'm just nosy. What's that all about?
That's probably down the road a little bit, but not as far as what we're thinking. With the growth at the interstate, at some point we'll have to decide which route we will go, either a rapid response vehicle from Station 1.
Okay.
Or a new fire hall.
A new fire hall up there. And if you put that vehicle at Station 1, you've got to have somewhere to store it.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Are these in any kind of order as ranked as important and, okay,
Just how I thought of it.
okay.
Roger, again, I mean, we had talked about that. I think this is a very useful report for us to be able to make sure we're on the same, game plan, so to speak. And one thing is, from a councilman, I mean, y'all can throw out some suggestions also, but my recommendation is have a time to completion date on it. And if that changes, it changes, but at least we'll know we're kind of working towards that. And Bill, that might be one area you could prioritize based on the date. And of course, the sooner the up top. Yeah, well, if it can be done, you can do it. And also, the things that are private or we don't really have a big hand into it, probably doesn't really need to be on, like the Wendy's really doesn't need to be on here because we don't play a role in that. Maybe look at as far as paving and, for example, Roger and I talked about tennis courts, believe it or not, it's been 12 years since the tennis court's been paved. And those things like that, we need to put on there and have a target date to complete that.
Just for FYI, you want us to go ahead and include maybe a separate sheet so y'all will know if a Wendy's is coming.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody asks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can, but I just look at like we had Aspire Park. Well, that's a private park. We really don't have, we support that like with the road, the entrance that you're involved in that. But as far as the park in general, we don't play a role in that. But it'd probably be good to have that maybe on the back page of it, just to say what other things are going on in the city. It just keeps everybody on the same page as far as being informed. So, we haven't got to the point where I need to make a motion, we need to hear a motion on this, as far as the next, okay, go ahead.
I have one on 13, Roger, the farm, the Carden Farm part. Any, just says in progress, what's, mentions a passive part?
Preliminary work before winter started on the parking area and some drainage. Actually got a meeting tomorrow set with Sarge at 1 o'clock, talk about some design. We had Studio 4 involved in some design. It was really good. We're meeting with Sarge just to get some other ideas. The plan is to sometime this spring, when we get a couple other projects done, get back on that. I know I was at Lakefront yesterday, there were several people with dogs down there.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. App, could we go back to number 9 just for a second? 4 to 5 years ago, I think that same conversation came up, maybe with a little bit, maybe with the tractor trailer rigs turning around somewhere on Eagle Bend. How did we leave that conversation? Because the conversation is back now. Did we come up with any remedies at all with the conversation 4 or 5 years, or the complaints 4 or 5 years ago?
I don't think we did. I think we, more than when it came up, we used traffic enforcement some to write tickets.
Right.
I think one of the first couple of tickets wrote were actually residents up there, so a lot of times.
We'd put some, no truck signs throughout
Yeah, and the
certain
rocks.
areas too. That helps, it might help a lot.
And they put a sign up next to Dr. LaBelle's office that says, traffic, turn at red light number
Yeah.
5, and,
Yeah.
you know, some things like that. I've come, of course, out through there some, and you occasionally see a big truck out there. You
Not
don't
many.
see,
Yeah,
you don't
not
see
much.
like you used to.
No.
I mean, I guess my thing on this was, when I looked at this, is market to Nave, I just don't know what you can do down through there.
We
I
were
mean,
talking about the islands back then.
we're talking about downtown, and I
Right.
mean, you're gonna be infringing on the buildings, that road's narrow already.
Yeah, market probably is really not included in that because the market will be included.
Yeah, it'll take care of itself.
Phase 2 of the TAP grant.
Well, it says market to Nave, that's okay,
Well,
Nave.
it might be the
I'm
end of
thinking
market.
Nave, that's Weaver down there at Pyatt's office.
Yeah.
Okay, Nave's all the way at the end there.
At the end of it.
Just before the
Okay.
turn.
Gotcha,
This is from the railroad to Nave Street.
to Nave Street, okay, okay.
Their concern, I've got a couple of phone calls, their concern is the speed of the traffic coming out of the plants toward town.
Well, then it happens, I mean, that does happen,
Well, does it ramp up?
especially
with the-
shift change.
Does it ramp up of the summertime, or is it like that
I think it's
continuously?
constant.
I think it's shift work. I mean, it's whatever
That's
shifts.
right.
There's an
Gotcha.
afternoon shift, and
Right.
it's buzzing by. Now, the police department's got a lot of, they've put their thing up there, their radar thing that detects all that, so I'm assuming they know,
But they pointed it the wrong way.
well, they've pointed it every way, I think.
I know they did the first one towards J.C. Park. its
Right.
limit there was well under 25 miles an
Okay.
hour, but they flipped it last week.
Right.
and
What about
I
signs?
have not seen it.
That's what I'm asking. I mean, that would be my comment to
And that's
ask.
kind of what we thought, that probably coming into town would be a lot faster.
Right.
It's just a wide street and they feel like they can let it go.
And that's part of the traffic calming, narrowing that down to control speed.
Okay.
Still up?
Yeah. General Government of the Recreation Department, the Anderson County Board of Education has requested to lease the city's football field and high school baseball field for the Clinton High School athletics. We've been working on a lease agreement that will provide the city with necessary oversight while providing the Anderson County Board of Education with the ability to provide Clinton High School its own athletic facility. We therefore request for the city manager to negotiate and the mayor to execute a lease agreement with the Anderson County Board of Education for multi-year lease of the city's football field and high school baseball field, subject to approval by the city attorney as to form.
Hear a motion to approve?
So
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion, Roger, you had some additional comments?
Yeah, I provided with just some highlights. Me and Dr. Perry have been going back and forth for about 3 weeks drafting this new contract. The old contract was about 2.5 pages. We're on 8 pages currently on the new one, because we want to be pretty specific on the use of it, not only for the people sitting at the table right now, but who's going to be in our positions 10 years down the road that's still be on this contract. Just some of the highlights we've been working on, which is a multi-year lease for the fenced-in areas only. They cannot sublease or assign to someone else. Anderson County Fair Association agreement will apply. The fair will have access to the areas for 4 weeks out of each year, used solely for public recreation and education, and not be allowed for personal gain. The city retains the right to use the facilities for youth leagues, Clinton school activities, and city-sponsored events. They're not allowed to rename any of the facilities. We'll have access for annual inspection. City will approve all plans or changes to the facilities. Cost of improvements will be the responsibility of the Anderson County Board of Education. The Anderson County Board of Education is responsible for all maintenance, repairs, utilities. Facilities must be maintained in current condition and cleaned after each event in a timely manner. Violation of these standards will result in termination of the agreement. And they must also carry the applicable insurance. One other thing, which this will reduce the recreation department's maintenance, daily maintenance, since they'll be taking over. So we have one vacant position in that department. So for now, we will not fill that position, which will be a savings of about $55,000-$60,000 a year, which will be losing some revenue, so it'll pretty much offset.
Okay, now, after this, if this comes to fruition, then the county will still lease the indoor swimming, tennis courts, and girls softball.
For this year.
Girls softball
Right now.
This year, their plans are
Right.
to build one at the school. The way me and Dr. Parrott talked, we'd go ahead and renew the 3-year contract with those 3 facilities in it. We'd leave softball, and then if for some reason they didn't get it built, we would already still have it in place for the next 2 years.
Okay, now, if my memory serves me correct, over the last few years, there was a period of time that the county paid a rental fee, and the city was actually losing money. And then you all readjusted that, and the county came back and we increased the rent, and we got the numbers to be more truer. But we still was probably some shortfall.
Yes.
With the remaining facilities such as swimming, tennis courts, and softball for that year, will that lease be renewed? I mean, my goal as a member of this council is not to make any money off the county, but I don't want to subsidize any of their events. So will that contract be renewed, and will it be more accurate and true?
I think it will be. We have not completed that yet, but we did look at some numbers, agreed upon, and I think it will be. I think it'll be very close.
Okay, again, I don't want to make any money, but just don't feel like we need to subsidize any of that.
I think the last time we negotiated it, our cost was to be, and these are estimates, I don't remember totally, but it was around 120,000 that the city was spending. And it's not only for Clinton High School, it's Clinton Middle School, Anderson County High School.
Correct.
So several usages. We negotiated for the first year, they'd pay $75,000.
Right.
$15,000 increment, which maxed out this year at $105,000.
Right. So we would still, there would be a shortfall. And my point is, going forward, if this comes to fruition, because I'm sure the football is the majority of the expense.
Yes.
And then baseball's probably an expense too. I just want to make sure that those new facilities, not these 2, but the other 3, that we don't have that $15,000 shortfall, that's more true. Is that-
I think, Roger and I had a conversation about, when they get down to the pool and the tennis courts, you're probably talking about $1,200 a year contract.
Okay.
Which you think that's not a lot of maintenance with that versus the fields. So, it's really gonna reduce the cost, but it's gonna
Right.
reduce our burden too, as from
Right.
a workforce standpoint.
Yeah.
Roger, how long, have you talked about how long of a lease this may be? Is that still preliminary or?
Preliminary, but we're looking at probably a 20-year.
Okay.
And that's why we want to make sure that this is a good contract in place.
And then once that's negotiated, it still comes back here for a vote or?
Now, that's what we're asking for tonight. They want to
Okay.
move pretty quickly. Like I said, that was some of the highlights. We can forward you, probably try to get it to the city attorney sometime this week. I can definitely get everybody a copy.
Okay.
Will this fall back on any of the city workers to clean up after a ball game, or is this strictly the parents and coaches?
Well, I put that in there, and we've tried to think of every scenario between us, staff, Dr. Parrott, and him, Brad Colette. We put in there that they have, after an event, 18 hours maximum to clean it up, unless there's an event following the next day, then they have to have it cleaned up within so many hours to that event. So if we had an Optimus football game on Saturday night, they would have to have it cleaned up well before the people got there for that game.
How far,
That's something a lot of people don't realize. When we had a home football game, we would bring 8 people in on Friday night or 6 o'clock on Saturday morning and have it cleaned before anybody really ever got up and saw it.
who do we see and how quick should the schedules been given to whoever? Clinton City Schools need a field day or a cross-country meet or something like that. Who do we report that to?
The principal is representative of the high school.
Okay. All right. That start date?
April 1.
So it'll be done by graduation, hopefully? Is that their?
The field is the goal.
Yeah, really.
I mean, I think talking about redoing the field, the old home side, which is the old side, demolish that and build a new stands on that side, redoing the whole lot, all the lights like it is at AC, doing the concession stands for the band, maybe even a locker room for the visiting team. So they're pumping some money into it. I mean, it could be up to $1 million.
And this will be done in stages.
Yeah.
We'll do it all the first year, of course, money-wise.
Yeah. Now, we could talk about this offline, but I mean, I know that Recreation Department keeps a lot of the vehicles around the stadium. are you asking for a certain period of time for us to build something for a storage facility? Probably next to the recycle center?
Yes. Well,
Okay.
probably actually we come up with a better area, and it's up between Public Works.
Okay. Yeah.
And
The Fair Building or the,
real
yeah.
estate. And then anticipate we put our vehicles there and possibly use that building if real estate moves out as an area for the recreation department, but also as a training area for all departments. Only two things can be done with that building, is recreation and education. So if we used it kind of as a city training facility, maybe some other things there, activities, we'll have to put some money in it to renovate it. It needs a new roof, heat and air units, some windows. So I just feel like if we'll put that much money into it, we probably ought to use it.
But at the same time, we do have the community center too, for those extra rooms for training, if somebody showed an interest in using that for the purposes you just described. So, any other questions? Roll call, please.
Councilman Gann?
Yes.
Councilman McBride?
Yes.
Councilman Harrell?
Yes.
Councilman Stamey?
Yes.
Mayor Burton?
Yes. Motion passes unanimous. Finance? You through, Roger? I'm sorry.
I got the sales tax numbers are not in your finance report. I didn't get those numbers until this morning, but I did update the sales tax chart and put it out there on Dropbox for you. You see the city's up 15, a little over 15% this month, year-to-date, close to 9%.
You know, we hit a milestone we never have hit before.
What's that?
We've been over 400,000 for the month.
Our sales tax is looking very well. The county, countywide was up almost 7% for the month. They're at close to 5.5% for the year. For the month, the county, rural county, was actually down this month, so the numbers still continue to be all over the board. If you look at your finance statement this month, you'll notice that year-to-date, we have a loss of a little over 80,000 compared to almost 1.5 million last year. A lot of that's in capital projects, but you'll also notice our revenues this year are doing very well. Our property tax is up over 600,000 from last year. We started out, of course, with a higher aggregate this year. Some of the other things that are up, of course, we've gotten $400,000 in state money. Part of that's some from the 10 Cares Act. Some of it is where the governor passed through some money. So we've got $400,000 there that really is not earmarked for anything in particular. Our state sales tax is up. Our business tax is up a little bit. CUB. So several of our revenue sources are up this year. Where we're seeing the decline is court fines. Our court fines are down almost over $100,000. Of course, our after-school program, because of the changes in it, obviously is down. And our interest so far this year is down over $37,000. So some of that, most of that we budgeted in anticipation of that. Court, I think we can go back in session March 15th. So we won't recover that level, but we will start seeing, I think, some progress in that. But overall, our numbers look really good this year.
Are you more confident in the process with the internet sales, with their numbers being better, or you just think it's coincidental, or? I know you made a call to the state. And
I really can't tell you. I've talked to the state. We've identified, every month I'll find one or two that I just happen to think of and we don't have, and we take care of that. But there's really no way for us to know whether or not we're getting everything. We just have to, I guess, trust that the state's doing their job correctly.
I had talked to somebody over the county, and they're starting to get a line item in with online gambling.
We got our first.
How much did we get with that, do you know? I think they received about 4,000.
I think
So
ours
would
was
it be
20, I tell you,
about half
2,500.
that.
1,300.
I can't remember.
Good.
That's quarterly. We will receive that quarterly.
So it's coordinated.
That's based on population.
Oh, so it has nothing to do about how many people gamble in this
No.
zip code?
The state
Oh.
distributes a percentage of the tax that the state collects is then distributed down based on population.
Okay, it's good to know.
Lieutenant Governor McNally in the meeting the other night said that they negotiated, I think the figure was 10% for the state of Tennessee.
Wow.
So when you start putting 10% to what was what's gamble, that's a pretty good chunk of money.
Yep. I think the first month it came out, it was over $12 million that was gambled in Tennessee. So that's 1.2.
I haven't
Do we
seen
get-
figures on Super Bowls, but you know that.
Yeah, I'm talking about gambling in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions for Gail? Thank you, Gail.
Yeah, the only other thing I've got, Gail and I did meet with the Postmaster General a couple weeks ago to talk about our zip code. She didn't know if it would be something we could do or not, but she did ask I go ahead and write a letter formally requesting it, and we have done that, but I've not heard anything back yet.
Okay.
So, all right.
Any other questions for Roger? Thanks, Roger. Under ordinances, we have a number of second and final reading. Ordinance number 655, this is amending Title 14 zoning ordinance relative to drug treatment centers and pain management clinics. Here, a motion to approve?
So,
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Gann?
Yes,
Councilman McBride?
Yes.
Councilman Harrell?
yes.
Councilman Stamey?
Yes.
Mayor Burton?
Yes, ordinance number 655 passes on second and final reading. Ordinance number 656, rezoning B2 to B1, the Clinch Avenue at Yarnell Road. Do I hear a motion for approval?
so moved.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Gann?
Yes,
Councilman McBride?
Yes.
Councilman Harrell?
Yes.
Councilman Stamey?
Absolutely, yes.
Mayor Burton?
Yes, ordinance number 656 passes on second and final reading.
Does that count extra, too?
Don't answer your phone tomorrow. It'd be one
That's
to-
for Tom back there.
Ordinance number 657, amending Title 14 zoning ordinance, Chapter 14, which is the stormwater management regulations. Hear a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Gann?
certainly yes.
Councilman McBride?
Absolutely, yes.
Councilman Harrell?
Absolutely, yes.
Councilman Stamey?
I don't know what to say. Yes.
Mayor Burton?
Unequivocally, yes. Motion number 650, I didn't know if I was going to be able to say that or not. I just threw it out real quick. Don't rewind and listen to that. Ordinance number 657 passes on second and final reading. Any old business before us? Any new business? There's a couple here. Roger, I don't know what we want to do with this. The review and approval of certificate of good moral character for retail liquor license application.
It's the same thing we have to do for wine and grocery stores. It's just an approval process, which, once we do this, they have really three things they have to give us, and then we have to give them the approval. If we don't, within 60 days, it goes to the state anyway, so it's kind of like wine and grocery stores, more or less a rubber stamp. They have to provide us with a background check, which the applicant who's actually in charge of the business have not been convicted of felony in the last 10 years, have security location for the business, which complies with the local restrictions of any local law and ordinance, and the applicant has been followed by any and all local laws. So pretty much it's just saying they've met our requirements.
So I didn't need to get a motion for approval for.
And so what
for
you're
wine.
telling us that they've met these?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Do I hear a motion to approve Alpine Liquors LLC at 2170 North Charles G. Severs Boulevard?
So moved.
Have a motion and a second? Do I have a second?
Second,
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
All right.
Opposed? Motion passes. Also for
Mr. Patel.
Mr. Patel at 1115 North Charles G. Severs Boulevard, Suite 9 and 10. And for those that don't know, that's in the Food Line Shopping Center next to the old China Inn out there. I would hear a motion for approval. The approval of certificate in good moral character. Hear a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I had a question about, that's the same shopping center Faith Promises in. Are we, do we have any problem there with distance from Faith
Well, I think
Promises?
there's two issues on this, Roger, if you want to bring it. I think the first one is if you have a liquor license, the footage doesn't, that's state law. And also, if you remember about probably 6 or 8 months ago, we passed a ordinance where if you're in a shopping center where the purpose of that shopping center is retail business, and you have a church there, then it's going to be up to the council to approve or not approve that. But I think in this case, since it's liquor, it's a state ordinance, if you will, it trumps everything locally. Did I explain that right?
Yes.
I just want to see if we had any
So
exposure there.
but we know that for sure? I mean, there's
Yes.
beyond a shadow of a doubt. If we were to say no, it doesn't matter.
No.
That's what-
60 days, they can just go ahead and pass this.
Yeah.
You are attesting only to the moral character, or that they have met the requirements.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We're not measuring
Now, if it
distance,
was,
I guess.
now, if it's a restaurant or a place that's just like a craft brewery, I think the first example I gave would give us the autonomy to approve or not approve. It would, if there was a business in there that was religion-based, but the purpose of that center was to be retail, restaurant. But I don't know when or if that would ever happen, but it's there if we need it. So, any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Anything else? Means adjourned.
Scott's going to ball game.
Yeah, let's go to the ball game.